For me personally, the last 17 months have been filled with terrible feelings and pretty bad emotions. There have been bad days, worse days, and there have been few disastrous days. And when a disaster day happens, I crash emotionally. Today is one of those days. Today, NOVAYA KAKHOVKA Hydro power plant was destroyed, and major flooding has been occurring throughout southern Ukraine. The scale of this disaster is cosmic. Entire southern Ukraine has been affected. It is an ecological, economic, and humanitarian disaster. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have been affected already, and many more will be affected. In the future, very near future, in this live stream, I want to share my point of view of what happened, who's responsible, and what happens next. And let me tell you, for Russia, the whole thing smells very, very fishy. Howdy, howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia. Here I give you the news updates I find important, and I find they explain what's happening inside Russia. You will find truth, common sense and logic, and some emotions here, or quite a few emotions sometimes. You will not find propaganda, BS, or lies. Inside Russia is where I usually explain what happens, inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. But what has happened today is actually not in Russia, it's in Ukraine. Well, without further ado, let me jump into this not very pleasant topic to discuss, but I feel that there's been a lot of confusion, there's been a lot of news, and all day I've been monitoring, analyzing, thinking, and I simply want to share my findings with you, my thoughts and my ideas. This morning I woke up fairly early, 7 a.m. in Tashkent. It was 5 a.m. in Ukraine. One of my YouTube channel consiglieres, Lorna, sent me a news, literally a few words. NOVAYA KAKHOVKA hydropower plant has been destroyed. I jumped up. Somehow Lorna sends me the breaking news, the major news, the first person, Somehow being in Texas, she knows exactly first what happens in Russia. The major news, So I jumped up in my bed. I had known possible implications of that dam destruction. There had been talks for a long time, so I kind of have a picture in my head. And I'm an energy business. I submitted bids to construct hydropower plant Turkey. I understand how a hydropower plant works and how it looks and what are possible implications of destruction of a dam. So I jumped up, and first thing I looked was the Russian news, of course, and there was nothing in the Russian news except for one article. The resource was Lenta.ru. Okay, there was nothing in the Western news. And on Telegram, I found one video without any explanation, but the video is much better than a million words, and it told me exactly what happened. The first second I looked, I understood that the dam and the hydropower plant were gone. Then the news started pouring in. Well, first they started appearing, then they started pouring in, because this is a big deal for Russia, and this is a big deal for Ukraine, for the whole world, really. The entire region is affected now. I wanted to stream live at first, but I couldn't do that. Boy, I'm glad I didn't. I was so emotional. It's been a very emotional day, but at first, it would have been a good stream at all. Trust me. What I did instead, I watched all day. I watched the news coming in. I was writing down things. I was thinking, analyzing. I was, looking at the development of this whole thing. I'm ready to share everything I think so far with you folks. Thank you. Now, before I start, I want to tell you this. The tragedy happened. Right now, both sides, Russia and Ukraine, they are blaming each other for that, but nothing can be undone at this point. I want to emphasize that. Had Russia stayed within Russian territory, had Russia not invaded Ukraine, had Russia not annexed Ukrainian territory, this tragedy would not happen. Now let's take a closer look at this mess. Russia is blaming Ukraine for destroying the dam and flooding the downstream area region. And Ukraine is blaming Russia the same, obviously. Who is right and who is lying? First, there have been myriads of news everywhere. Russian news, propaganda, Russian independent news that are based abroad, Western news, different experts coming out and saying on Twitter, on YouTube, and, it's been a flood, literally. So let's look at the motives for the Ukrainians and for the Russians. How would Ukrainians benefit and how would Russians benefit, okay? The motives of the Ukrainians, they're not clear at all. So you understand, Novaya Kakhovka is located a little northeast of Kherson. Kherson is a Ukrainian city, the capital of Kherson province. It got occupied by the Russian armed forces shortly after the invasion began in February 2022. So Kherson was occupied in March 2022, and it still remains the only major city that Russia was able to occupy in Ukraine. Russia, in October 2022, Russia annexed Kherson province, obviously with Kherson being the capital, making it a part of Russia from the point of view of Russian law and legislation. Again, Ukrainians disagree with that, and international law also does not recognize Kherson Russian. There was a big celebration in Moscow, October 2022, concert, things like that, and Vladimir Putin made a public promise to all Russians that Kherson was going to be a part of Russia forever. 5 weeks later, turned out that he once again lied to all of us. Russian troops ran from Kherson at the retreat order from the Armed Forces High Command. Since then, Russian troops have been occupying the left bank of the Dnieper River, because Kherson is located right on the river, just like Rostov-on-Don on the right bank of the river. Okay, so that's a big city. And then there's a left bank of the river. So Russians have been occupying the left bank, and the Ukrainians pushed them back, and Kherson is back to Ukraine. So for a long time, Russian army had anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive. So allegedly, they started creating a fortification line, defense line on the left bank of Kherson. So when Ukrainians would start, getting around the river, they would be facing Russian fortification line. And Russians are right now blaming the Ukrainians for destroying the dam of NOVAYA KAKHOVKA plant, so all that water from the man-made lake would flood downstream territory, and Kherson is on the part of the river that is located a little higher. The right bank is high, the left bank is lower. So the left bank is being flooded right now. And the Russians are blaming the Ukrainians. They did it on purpose to destroy all the fortifications on the left bank of Dnieper River. The Russians had been constructing so hard. And Of course, they spent so much money on that. Russians claim they built hundreds of huge castles so tall that they reach the space, and they were full with latest technology, laser beam guns and Tesla coils. And of course, Russians who were building that, they spent trillions and trillions of rubles on this marvel of this latest technology, And of course, that money came from the taxpayers' pockets, from the Russian budget. And now the evil, sly Ukrainians flooded the line, and instantly, just like that, all those castles with marvelous, expensive technology is gone. Money spent, but nothing to show. Everything's perished under the water. It's all the water under the bridge, so to speak. Well, I'm being sarcastic, of course. Russians didn't claim that, but the idea is the same. They're saying all the fortification line, facilities are gone. I believe that the only things they had on the left bank of Dnieper were minefields. They could do that, yes. And that's it. The problem with this theory is that area is not really suitable for crossing the Dnieper River, and not suitable for executing counteroffensive. Simply, geographically, it's not the best place. The Ukrainians would and did choose different locations for counteroffensive, as we know now. And right now, this area is a big swamp. Okay, Ukrainians, even if they wanted to, they could not cross those swamps in tanks, armored vehicles, and so forth. So Russian explanation of the Ukrainian motive doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The motive of the Ukrainians to destroy the dam, that's simply bullcrap. Moreover, Ukrainians simply could not blow up the dam physically. The air missile strike could not be executed. Well, it could, but it would not destroy the dam. The air missiles, they are simply not powerful enough to actually cause the damage like we've been seeing today. On top of that, the Russians, they have this local missile air defense systems. They proved to be effective. The problem is there are not enough of them, okay, but they definitely could allocate one right to guard airspace around the dam for this particular reason. If they were anticipating an air missile strike from the Ukrainians, it makes sense, right, to place air defense system. And that would be it. And for blowing up the bridge with, mines, the plastic, C4 and stuff like that, it is Russian-controlled area. Russian army has been controlling, has been protecting this entire area, including the dam. You cannot, imagine amount of work needed to be done to plant all those, bombs and to blow up the thing. It's not easy to blow up a dam. Trust me on that. I know. I was in the energy business. So Ukrainians physically could not execute a missile strike, and they could not blow it up, make an explosion. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't do it. So Ukraine motives for destroying the dam are non-existent. It was not in their interests whatsoever. But now let's take a look at the motives of the Russians. This is sad. Folks, you gotta understand it. I'm pretty emotional still. It's better than it was in the morning, but this is sad. I'm talking about my country, all right? A country that I was born and grew up in. I'm talking about my people. I'm talking about the army of my country that was supposed to be defending me and my family and my parents. This is This is not easy. Anyway, let's take a look at the motives of the Russians. It turns out today that Ukrainian armed forces are executing the counteroffensive for the third day in a row. They have been doing it for 3 days now. And I'm not making this stuff up. Today, for the first time, I heard Ministry of Defense publicly making a statement about that. And you see, today they openly lied one more time. Day before yesterday, everything was fine. No one was conducting counteroffensive. Day before yesterday was fine. Day before yesterday was fine. And now they come out and say, you know what? By the way, Ukrainians have been doing the counteroffensive for 3 days. Didn't you just contradict yourself? Didn't you just show that you lied yesterday and day before yesterday? Well, we don't care. This is pretty much the attitude that they have. So, lies. Again. Now they're saying, we've been rebuking those counterattacks, counteroffensive of the Ukrainians successfully. We're victorious. All right, good luck with that. So one of the motifs for, I'd say, somehow Russians blowing up and doing something, causing this catastrophic damage to the dam, is to create a humanitarian catastrophe, exactly at the point when the Ukrainian government has focused all the resources on one task, conducting the counteroffensive. So they create this crisis that involves so many people in their lives and their livelihood and their homes and so forth. And they make Ukrainians pull resources from the counteroffensive back to help people, to evacuate people, to somehow support and assist people. So the counteroffensive gets weaker, okay? And this is exactly what's happened so far. Mass evacuations, time allocated to make decisions about this crisis, Ukrainian high command talking about that, all Ukrainian media and most likely soldiers are somehow, focusing on that now too. That is a very good motive for Russia to destroy the dam. Russia has just created a tension point for Ukraine, one more tension point that has been sucking and will be sucking the resources from the counteroffensive to someplace else. And to me, that is a much more reliable, anyway, a better motive for Russians to do that than for the Ukrainians. Basically, Ukrainians have no reason to do that, and Russians, they do. Now let's talk how this crisis, this catastrophe happened, and we'll understand more. Early in the morning, all quiet, and all of a sudden, water starts gushing through the dam, and dam is quickly getting destroyed because water pressure, as soon as it finds some hole, it starts pushing in real hard, and it destroys everything else around. Okay, so the dam was destroyed, I would say, in minutes. I did not see the moment of destruction. But this is what usually happens. It's not the first time that hydropower plant dam gets destroyed. At this point, the dam is destroyed completely, and the hydropower plant is also destroyed completely. I happen to be among the first ones to start monitoring the situation 7 in the morning, thanks to Lorna. But in general, that's a coincidence. So at first, the Russian news, the propaganda, they stated, they proposed that the dam was destroyed. The first media source that suggested that the Ukrainians did a missile strike was Telegram channel called Военкоры Русской Весны. Hardcore propaganda people, Z people. They suggested that Ukrainians executed a missile airstrike that destroyed the dam, which is not possible. I mean, the amount of missiles that would destroy the dam would be so large, that's actually unbelievable. Dam is a pretty solid structure, okay, and it's designed and built to withstand tremendous pressure from huge amount of water. So right after the news broke out at 6:15, the mayor of town Novaya Kakhovka, that is right next to the HPP, his last name is Leontiev, he publicly denied the missile strike was done by anyone, by Ukrainians, you know. At 6:15 a.m., he pretty strongly called that suggestion made by Военкоры Русской Весны a delusion. No more, no less. And he was absolutely right. A large town, tons of people, security cameras everywhere, early morning, 4 in the morning. Any explosion that could take down hydropower plant dam would be heard 50 miles around. In the entire town of Novaya Kakhovka, all glass windows would be shuttered, okay? That would be a cosmic scale, loud, loud, loud explosion. You know how I know? Above Rostov-on-Don, there have been the southern city, Russian southern city, there have been a few missile interceptions. Missiles were flying from Ukraine and then Russian air defense system intercepted. So the explosions every time were so hard, so loud, so big that most cars' alarm systems went off, and many, many windows, they were trembling, shaking, okay? Tons of security cameras at every door, okay? There's a security camera. They were constantly filming, they caught the moment of such interceptions, moments of interceptions, and trust me, some they have sound. It was a big boom. Just one rocket. Far, far above Rostov. Now imagine a rain of rockets flying down and, you know, destroying the dam. Oh, imagine an explosion, explosives planted somewhere. In order to plant explosions, you gotta execute a raid, an armed raid. You gotta, you know, somehow neutralize all security people. You gotta know the insides of the dam. You gotta be in a energy construction or maintenance facility business. You have to get inside, plant a certain amount of explosives in certain places, and then evacuate yourself and blow up. So it's impossible. Nothing happens. So the mayor of Novaya Kakhovka, he made the point. He had a point. Everyone who claimed otherwise was absolutely delusional. Everything was quiet, and all of a sudden, boom, the water started gushing through through destruction of the dam. You know, I can't, what happened 1 hour later was pretty amazing, because I was looking at the news constantly. The very same mayor, okay, he made a completely contradictory statement. At 7:30, in the same media outlet, he announced that there was an airstrike by the Ukrainians at 2 a.m. that destroyed the dam. So at 6:15, he rightfully said that whoever said about the explosion was absolutely delusional. Everything was quiet in the city of Novaya Kakhovka. And 1 hour later, he contradicted himself. Well, I know what happened. Propaganda people from Moscow, they woke up, they look at the news, they couldn't believe their eyes. They said, what? What is this crazy lunatic is saying? Get him on the line. And they told him, hey, you crazy fudge, what have you done? And then he immediately, this is what you need to say. He immediately took the paper and he said, oh, you know what, folks? Good people of Novaya Kakhovka, I forgot. I forgot there was a strike at 2 a.m. This is what happened. Funny thing is, I cannot find this news page where he claims that at 6:15 that whoever was saying that the missile strike was executed was delusional. It's gone. It's been deleted. But guess what? I couldn't believe my eyes. He said that, and I made a print screen. I have it. Okay, and it's been all over internet. I'm not the only one who noticed. It's been all over internet. Okay, it's freaking shame. So there was no explosion. At least, it's not recorded anywhere. What the hell happened? At this point, it's still not clear because it takes weeks and months to investigate every time a catastrophe like that happens. But I have a pretty good idea, and this is what I think. I've been in energy business for pretty much all my adult life, and we were building thermal power plants fired by gas and coal, so I know those quite well. But we also made a few bids for hydropower plant, turnkey construction. And I was responsible a long time ago, about 18 years ago, for a bid for one of the hydropower plants in Tajikistan. So I know a thing or two about hydropower plants. And I know amount of materials, cement, concrete that takes to build a dam and what kind of pressure it can withstand and so forth. But I also know that power plant is a very sophisticated energy facility of increased danger, high danger, okay? It is a physical structure. On one side, it has tremendous pressure created by a huge lake. Inside, it has a very sophisticated electric technical equipment, turbines, automation system, and so forth. And there are very strict maintenance and operational procedures and protocols. Guess what happens is if those maintenance actions are not done, are ignored. A catastrophe similar to what we are seeing right now happens. And we in Russia, we have seen catastrophes on hydropower plants. I will just remind you one, a fresh one. Sayano-Shushenskaya hydropower plant, one of the biggest power plants in the world, 2009. Exactly what happened. Safety protocols, maintenance and operation protocols were violated, and 75 people died instantly. The inside of the power plant, it's called Mashinny Zal, Mashzal, was flooded because there were two problems. A mechanical problem, metal was too old and it started giving in, and it was a human error problem. One of the people simply forgot to shut down one of the gateways, and automation system was turned off or something like that. Some experts compare the harm done when the Sayano-Shushenskaya HPP blew up. It didn't blow up. It's simply water rushed in and destroyed everything on the inside, killed people, and rushed out and destroyed and started damaging the dam itself. Some experts compare the harm done to Chernobyl catastrophe. Okay, that's the magnitude of bad things that happen. So we know a thing or two about safety procedures. You ask any guy, any engineer who works at a hydropower plant, and she will tell you how important it is to do the right maintenance and to operate in the right way. And you know what happens after a catastrophe happens? Not a catastrophe, but Russia has a very strict code, a set of codes of industrial safety and a special codes for hydropower plants. And after any accident happens at a power plant, an investigation committee gets assembled, and it consists of high experts, and they start looking under the microscope. Looking at every action, what a person did, what caused the problem, what kind of problem, and things like that. And if there's a catastrophe, huge investigation. Not just on hydropower plants and thermal too. It's the energy business. It's very, very dangerous business, So, well, now we're getting into the most interesting part that I've learned today. Guess what happened? On May 30th, 2023, just a week ago, Russian government created a new law, an order, government order, executive order, number 873. Russian government changed the codes of industrial safety on that take effect on the annexed territories, on the new territories of Russia. Now, if something happens, a catastrophe happens, and they qualify it as a terrorist act, no industrial safety investigation. Pretty darn convenient. Now, this is gold, okay? I think this is the key to understanding who did this and why. Until 2028, technical investigations after incidents on power plants, including hydropower plants, are not needed. That's basically an order to do nothing if they qualify something as a terrorist attack. And this afternoon, Russian government, the investigating committee, Следственный комитет of Russian Federation, identified this accident as the terrorist attack. So there will be no technical investigation done at Novaya Kakhovka power plant. If you ask any engineer who works at the hydropower plants, what is easier, to keep power plant operational and safe, or to do things that will lead to a catastrophe? Okay, basically an engineer will tell you, just don't do anything, don't do any actions, don't do any maintenance for some time, and you will have a disaster on your hands. And I think this is pretty much exactly what happened. Again, these are my thoughts, but so far I have found them the most logical explanation of this catastrophe. Another thing that adds up to my opinion is this. For the last few months, Russians have been engineering this catastrophe, but by closing water gateways of this dam, of this HPP, and raising the level of water in the lake to the record high. And the pressure was building up. And the power plants, they can withstand engineers design them. They design characteristics and parameters, and they can withstand the dams, the equipment, they can withstand certain pressure of the water. If pressure is up, everything just lets in, and the water starts rushing, destroying everything. And it looks like at this point, this is exactly what happened. So they didn't do anything, they didn't do maintenance procedures, or perhaps not in full volume that was needed to be done. They were skipping on something, and they were simultaneously raising up the level of Kakhovka водохранилище, the main man lake. And this morning, a catastrophe happened. In my mind, it was an engineered catastrophe. What they did is they created this flooding that has taken focus off the counteroffensive to something different. Strategically, it makes sense, okay? But how inhuman you must be to do something like that? What happens next? I don't even want to, well, I'm becoming emotional again, sorry. First of all, like it hasn't been bad enough, it gets worse. So many more lives have been taken already and will be taken because instant flooding is catastrophical flooding is, it traps people, it kills people. We have seen terrible pictures already today. The entire houses, everything is flooded down the stream from Kakhovka, there's all kinds of stuff happening. The entire houses floating down the river towards the Black Sea. Where are the people, the owners of the houses? Are they still inside the houses? And I mean, the houses are in the water, and you could see just the roofs of the houses. How many people will die? Ecological catastrophe. Just imagine the entire region of Ukraine, southern Ukraine, is being flooded right now. It's going to be flooded for next 3 or 4 days. Evacuation. What kind of, so many people, hundreds of thousands of people. There are 80 towns and villages of Ukraine down the stream of Dnieper River from Kakhovka down south. 80 villages and towns will be flooded or already flooded, most likely. How many people have lost or will be losing their everything, their livelihood, their houses, their property, even those houses that have not been destroyed will not be destroyed. They're going to be basically not livable, okay? So many people will have to be evacuated. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people. Where are they going to go? Are they going to be refugees? So, the more I think about it, the worse I feel. I keep on saying, this morning I talked to a couple Ukrainian friends, and I keep on saying, please forgive us. But I think me saying that just doesn't even cut close, okay? I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else, how else to feel, to express how I feel. I don't understand how we have fallen so low in Russia to make these things happen. How come the value of human life is simply non-existent? This is the most important thing for humanity, the human life, Instead of cherishing it, instead of caring, instead of making lives of people better and safer, we engineer floodings. I don't know, folks. I don't know what to tell you. How low we have fallen and how lower we're gonna go. The more I see, the more catastrophic events like this happens, the less I want to be associated with Russia. I mean, I loved Russia. I was born and raised in Russia. I was, raised among Russian people. We never had values like this. No one could understand, imagine in a bad dream that something like that Russian people would do. If I was in school and I would get beaten for that, And this has been a reality in 2023. We definitely took a very wrong turn somewhere in the past. I'm trying to figure out when, well, at least it's important for me to know. to find my own salvation. And, if I can help others to shed light, that'd probably be good as well. I was thinking between whether I should converse today or not, turn on this live stream chats, stay like basically to turn on the comments or just keep them off and finish. But I've decided to turn them on because, if I've decided to be honest with you and if I've decided to live stream and explain my points of view on things and my angles, then, I'm gonna be honest until the end. So shoot your questions. I will try to answer them all. If they are tough, please forgive me if I just skip them, but it has not been a good day, and that has not been an easy day for me. So thank you so much. Here you go. I'm not gonna be asking you to spread the message today or anything like that. It's not the stream for that. Thanks for coming, by the way. 6,300 people. That's quite a lot. Thank you. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Spilled my tea all over the table. Howdy, friends. It's pretty embarrassing to be in front of a camera and say, "No, please forgive us, Russians," and every time it happens, time over and over again. Blackhead, Mommy, Lorna, the mods, Harry, thank you for coming. Amir, Bob. If you want me to notice there are so many people and so many comments, so if you want me to notice your comment or question, please put it in caps, put inside Russia after @ so I see it highlighted in a large orange box. Thank you so much. I will try to answer all the questions, even uncomfortable ones, but, play it by ear. Donna, thank you so much. All that oil in that water. I know. There will be more, Donna. This is what we have heard so far. 50 metric ton of oil. It's flowing throughout the southern Ukraine area, and it's going to flow right into the Black Sea. This is just... some words I cannot say in public, but I'm tempted, Sorry. Pinda, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sponsoring 5 people. I appreciate it. Thank you. Robert Whip, howdy. Pinda, waking up with your first message on the dam broken was heart sinking. Until 10th, you were the only one reporting this. Then confirmation in other channel. Well, we should thank Lorna for that. She was the first one to alert me. As soon as I saw this, a few words, I jumped up in my bed. I knew exactly what happened. I looked at the video and Mario from Horvatia, howdy. Tough day in a tough year. Yeah. Gregory, indeed. Outback 820, howdy. Morgantown, West Virginia, USA, howdy. Powder Works. Union Hijack, Thank you for the question. Well, it's not a question. Hurts so much to see how your heart breaks. Thank you. You know, I think that people who have been affected, they need it much more than I do. Also do a video on Yuri Bezmenov. Okay. Thanks for your love. Thank you so much. But the people in Ukraine, they need it so much more now. John Wakamatsu from Los Angeles, howdy. Used to work for a government water and power utility, which had 2 dam failures. I know that dam fails for various reasons. Lack of maintenance is one of them. Well, I tell you what, John, I know quite well. You take an engineer, maintenance engineer who works inside the dam, and you give him a goal. You say, hey, buddy, do something that in a few months the dam goes, if you know what I mean. And it's easier to let that happen than to keep the dam well maintained and safe. Okay, so I know quite well too. Thank you. RW, because of our own fears, all well-intended acts, but mistakes. Well, my friend, thank you so much for coming again. You are definitely a usual suspect, not beyond usual suspect. You know, you're a friend. Thank you. KG1, UK Guardian News has a report of an explosion being heard. So not sure what to think. Still seems pointless for both sides to do this. This is the first time I'm hearing that the explosion was heard this morning. The thing is, you cannot not notice the explosion. There would be evidence of that. Security cameras in apartments, in the house, near the entrance doors. There's like every entrance door in Russia has a security camera that does video loop filming in a loop. You know what I mean? The cars, the alarm clocks would go off in the amount that the noise that is needed to destroy the cloud of black smoke that would go up could be seen, I don't know, from Moscow, if you know what I mean. So I highly doubt there was an explosion. If it was, I want to see the evidence. There have been myriads of news reports, articles, witness statements, nothing of explosion. Except, of course, from Russian propaganda who say, somehow miraculously a rocket flew from sent by the Ukrainians and then destroyed everything. Yeah, right. Mikhail Asp, thank you. Love your compassion. Keep going. Thank you. You know, sometimes it's really hard. I was tempted to not to make this stream. It would have been much easier. Let's put it this way. Thank you. Matt's Lane, Russian government wanted that the wheat prices will rise. I strongly disagree with that. Russian government does not care for wheat or wheat prices. All it cares is to hang on to power for as long as possible. And the threat of losing power is very real, very imminent. That's the Ukrainian counteroffensive. That's what it thinks right now. It's thinking every single second of its existence, okay? I think everyone except for Vladimir Putin, because he's self-ejected from this political field of Russia. He's nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. You know, a strong leader would come out and address the Russians saying, hey, there's been a catastrophe, but we're working on it, blah, 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 something. Vladimir Putin, nothing. Today he announced that the most important news of the day, the most important thing in Russia, to introduce technical drawing in schools and universities by 2024. That's the biggest news in Russia according to Vladimir Putin. So don't tell me that they care about the wheat prices will rise or things like that. They just could care less. Whew. Level 70, thank you. Well-known Russian field commander Yegor Guzenko, 13th, supposedly admitted that it was the Russian army that blew up the dam before the Ukrainians were blamed. You know what? Have not heard that. I have not seen it. I will definitely investigate. Thank you so much. Yegor Guzenko. Okay, I have never heard the name. Lori Hill, howdy. If there was an engine room explosion, the building would have burned damage and outward explosion damage exactly, not collapse damage and evidence of falling inward. Thank you. Thank you. You've said it better than I did myself, but you're absolutely right. Different kind of damages. That's why you have an investigation committee and you take the top energy experts, professors from college who design, people who engineer and design turbines, the turbine manufacturer, usually a commission, it's called in Russia, it's called a commission. Usually it consists of, I don't know, like a few dozen people, and each covers his own area of expertise, and they work and work and work, and in months they come up with a conclusion this thick, usually, okay? But you are absolutely right. Nasetka, you are between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. Completely support you in whatever decision you make on when it's appropriate to speak out on this subject. Nasetka, thank you. I am between a rock and a hard place, but, you know, it's not a big deal. Well, I have made my decision, and I'm speaking out on this subject right now. You know, I've decided not to be like Vladimir Putin, just hide out. White lightning, wouldn't the use of shaped charges in the dam places at the water gate locks hinges be the most likely method? This implies full-time access. Wouldn't the use of shaped charges in the dam placed at the water gate locks and hinges be the most likely method? Well, or simply turn automation system off, and you know, there are very complicated procedures on when you have to keep the gates, water gates locked, how you can unlock them and things like that. It's easy to break this procedure, and the results would be catastrophic. I think that's what happened. Sometimes dam gets cracked and you need to apply, need to fix it. Basically, if you don't fix it, the crack grows, and then sooner or later it gives in. There's so much water pressure, things like that. Could be cracks in the metal structures. The metal could be too old. It's called the tiredness of metal. I'm not sure how it's right in English. You know, there's so many, like thousands of reasons. Take a good engineer, skilled engineer, and tell them, hey, I want you to do something at this plant, so in 5 months, 3 months, 4 months, it'll be destroyed by water. And, you know, that's not a big deal. Turbine over speed governors being exceeded could trigger catastrophe. Yes. Combine the record high level of water in the lake and increased pressure, perhaps above the levels of operational, norms. That I am not a hydro generation engineer. Okay, I know much more about thermal power plants. That's a completely different system. But I'm familiar with the hydropower plants. You know what I mean? It's just there's so much complexity inside. You know, there are so many things that could go wrong. It's unbelievable. Carlson Larrymore, Stalin did this in 1941 to slow the Nazis, disregarding their own citizens. Putin is the same. He doesn't care who has to suffer. You know, until today, I did not hear until Stalin doing the same thing in Kakhovka. I'm yet to learn more about it. Okay, that's what can I say? It's inhuman. It's simply inhuman. Russia is a country that doesn't value citizens' lives much, and that's one of the biggest problems it has. And this is not good. And people don't care. Happens to them again and again and again, and they don't do anything about it. I don't know why. Colonel Graf, howdy. Thank you for your honest, compassionate, prompt coverage of the difficulties Russia is imposing on the rest of the world. Best wishes to you, your friends, your family, and your country. Thank you so much. Just one correction. I don't really know what my country is anymore, but thank you. You know, Russia could do anything it wants to itself, as long as it's inside Russia, but I feel that these things, they have gone out of Russia, and now that Russia is damaging and threatening the entire world, basically, entire region at least. Katerina S. from Czech Republic, thank you so much. Huge support. I don't know what to say. You know what? That makes two of us. I don't know what to say. I have a hard time. I mean, your questions are really saving me because I just answer them. Other than that, I would have not known what. I simply don't know what to say. Thank you for the respect. Thank you, Czechia. Fantastic place. Yeah, I've said many times. My mom and dad lived in Prague for 10 years. Visited so many times. Thank you. Fantastic place. John V, thank you so much. Ferrari guy, timing is the only thing going against the lack of maintenance reason for the collapse. Well, some things you can, I think things can be engineered, you know. Some things can be sped up, some things can be slowed down. The fact that this puts a hold on the counteroffensive in the area makes sabotage plausible. Sabotage by who? I didn't get it. By the Ukrainians? Why would they sabotage their own counteroffensive? Sabotage by Russians? If they're trying to slow down the counteroffensive, that's not sabotage. That's a military operation. Intelligence or whatever. That military operation. Alistair, thank you so much. Cheryl Watley. Good words. Germany came to grips with history and changed. Russia never faced itself. I have been thinking a lot about it. Not an easy topic to package into a stream. Most likely, if I make, it's going to be a video. But you are completely right, but with one correction though. Russia has never faced itself yet, but it will. I think this is the turning point for Russia. If it is in the future to join the family of like normal civilized countries, that there's no question about it. It would have to go the same path Germany has been going for the past, 80 years. Must happen sooner or later. But not facing its history in 1991, early 90s was a huge mistake. I see that now. Maila Mitrofanov, you have Russian last name. Keep on your precious work against despot and tyrant. Thank you so much for your support, and the support is appreciated. Money is much needed, but the words are priceless. Thank you. They are moving and inspirational. Thank you. HCO Maine. Howdy, Jimmy. Does Russia have parts to do maintenance, K? Yes, it does. The turbines were manufactured in the USSR. The same plant still manufactures turbines. It still manufactures spare parts. Spare parts is not a problem. LD, thank you so much for your message. Thank you, I appreciate it. D. I'm sorry about the misspelling of the name. I will do so. Thank you. Mr. Pink, thank you so much. This war is scary, but what really gets me thinking is what happens to Russia when Russian soldiers return home. We have seen what happens when angry soldiers feel like they're sacrificed everything for nothing. And you know what? They have sacrificed everything for nothing. For not one slightest thing. I don't think they understand what for they're going through that horrible war experience through. And they're angry. And you're absolutely right. But I have done a couple streams yesterday, day before yesterday, exactly on this. Civil war is coming to Russia, and the seeds of chaos grow into Russia. What you are saying in your message right now is one of the seeds of chaos. The soldiers will be coming back home. There will be so many disabled ones, legless, handless, and the ones with PTSD, head trauma, crazy ones, angry ones, and holy moly, they will bring guns with them. And by the way, information today, it's pretty fresh. It's actually pretty old, but there's a secret decree in the Russian Ministry of Police Force that in case something happens, an attack or emergency situation, the first priority is to save policemen lives, to lock themselves up in the rooms and the cabinets and so forth, and stay there and until to minimize the risks to the lives of the personnel. Yeah. I did not see it personally. There are rumors, but I believe it. Udo, Konstantin, do you already have an opinion how this event might impact the future development of this war? It might slow down the counteroffensive, but I think that it will change tides for Russia. Very, very next few days will be determinational. They will determine the outcome, I think. So watch closely. If the Ukrainians keep on pushing, then nothing good awaits Russia. Then the Russian troops will be pushed back to the border of Russia, and that's going to be it. Ecoplasma, if there was no explosion, Russia cannot blame Ukraine for destroying the dam. So there must have been an explosion. Well, Russia is blaming Ukraine for having Nazis in Ukraine when there weren't any Nazis. So Russia can do anything it wants to, okay? It does not answer anyone, and it does not follow the rules of common sense and logic. So, and if you don't do that, you can state whatever you want, basically. Muson Girl 123, the thought of professional engineers participating in disaster by planned neglect is the stuff Nuremberg trials are made of. And I totally agree with you, but how do you know that there weren't any engineers who are employed by KGB? They have all kinds of personnel working for them, okay? But you are spot on. That stuff for Nuremberg trials, Nuremberg. In Russia, we say Nuremberg. It's difficult also. I hope that all responsible ones will be put to trials, investigated, and will get what they deserve. Alvin, thank you. Metal fatigue, thank you. Lisa Kumrian, metal fatigue. Metal fatigue. Усталость, tiredness, metal tiredness, I said. Fatigue. Out of respect for you, the mods and the viewers, I will not express my feelings. Thank you, but you have expressed them. I understand very well. Thank you, and I'm very sorry about that. And you have every reason. I saw Agenda Free. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. RW. No need for you to apologize. Thank you. What Russia has been doing is unforgivable. But you're on the side of the angels. We must all eventually let go of passions for our own health, but we must not forget. Thank you, friend. I really don't know how to stop. I apologize because I feel it's really hard to explain what I feel, you know. Anyway, it's a tough. Thank you, RW. Thank you so much. KG1, so I presume Crimea has lost their water supply. I have heard this 15 times today. Look, Crimea does not need this water supply for people to function. That's a good point. Thank you. But listen to this, folks. My dad was born in Crimea in 1952. Back then, Crimea officially belonged to Russia. Russia was a republic within the Soviet Union. Then in 62, or a few years after my dad was born, Nikita Khrushchev changed administrative borders of Russia and Ukraine, the Republic of Russia, Republic of Ukraine, and Crimea started belonging to Ukraine. So it became Ukrainian in late 50s or early 60s, 60, either 5 or 62, something like that. So anyway, so my dad started living in Ukraine, the Soviet Republic of Ukraine. Back then, it was no difference, okay? All spoke Russian, same country, same federal laws, no difference whatsoever. But listen to this. My dad told me that, and it's true, you know, the Crimea, North Crimea water channel was finished, construction was finished in 1971. 71. My dad told me that all his life he was growing up in Crimea. They had no problems with water before that channel was built because they used spring water. It's everywhere in Crimea. And a few man-made lakes, water reservoirs, were built in the southern part of Crimea near Simferopol, near Belgorod. No, not Belgorod. Belogorsk, near Belogorsk, near Yalta, a few ones in the mountains. And they are fed by rainwater. And they supply water to the residents all year long. The only problem when they have is like once in 10, 15 years, there's like a huge drought. It happens very rarely. Then they run out of water, but still, there was a huge drought like 3 or 4 years ago, and still, like, not a big deal. what the Crimean Channel was designed for. You see, the central and northern Crimea is steppes, and it's very arid land. So they wanted to grow things. They wanted to grow wheat, different like tomatoes, different vegetables. That's why they supplied that water through that canal. And then when 2014 happened, of course, the first thing Ukrainians did, they cut off the water supply. The Crimeans did not have the water from Ukraine, from Dnipro River for, 8 years? And all that suffered was small agricultural industry. And that's it. People were fine without water and for 8 years. And they're going to be fine now. So that's not going to affect their daily lives. But of course, whoever the farmers who grow things, who grow wheat and things like that, they're going to be affected. That's for sure. But again, that's where the conversation stops. So Crimea water supply has been reduced, but again, to them it's not a big deal. Until 1971, they didn't even have this channel. There's a new sponsor, Steve Paul. Thank you for coming and joining to Inside Russia. Yes, 1954. Thank you so much. My dad was born in 1952. So he lived for 2 years in Russian Republic of the USSR, and then it became the Ukrainian Republic of the USSR. Plain and simple. Yeah, my wife just sent me before the stream, sent me the news about the zoo. Lost approximately 300 animals. I mean, birds and swans survived, yeah, and all other animals died. Time's up. Yeah, wrapping up. Dima, thank you so much. Folks, before I finish, looking forward to finishing the stream, by the way. It's not easy. Before I finish, I want to tell you that didn't make the video. I reposted the video. The video is definitely made all over the world news, and I reposted on the channel, and I made a post for the patrons. And I went on to a breakfast. I went earlier today, and I invited everyone to join me. Usually I do a shout out saying, hey, let's have a breakfast, and in a festive manner, in a funny way. But this mood was absolutely terrible this morning, and a few Russians showed up. The Ukrainians usually come Saturday, Sunday, and once in a great while they come during the weekdays. Couple ladies who don't work, their husbands work, they're engineers. So there were only Russians today, and we all showed up, and let me tell you, this wasn't one single person. There were 10 of us today who didn't feel anything but just complete, I don't know how you call it, complete dismay by what Russia did. This is just non-normal people would not feel good about it, Anyway, my friends, let's pray for these people in Ukraine who are suffering from, like they haven't suffered enough, Now they're suffering from the flooding. I mean, it just gets worse and worse for regular Ukrainians. I don't know what to say. Please, everyone, there are quite a few people, 5,100. Please join me in prayer. Let's ask God to help these people who are suffering. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. It must be important and needed for some reasons that we don't understand, but you do. Thank you for giving us food on our tables and roofs over our heads, at least some of us. And please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful. Please give us wisdom to not fight in wars with each other. Give us wisdom to raise our children the way that when they grow up, they will make a much better job that we have done. Please keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, please help stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. Please answer everyone's prayers and make everyone's wishes come true. Of people who are in Ukraine, reach out and touch the hearts and souls of people responsible and capable of making this decision in Russia. Make them stop. Make them make the decision. Force them to make decision to stop the bloodshed. Send everyone in Ukraine an angel, so the angels keep people away from harm's way. Please help my country. Assemble an army, the strongest army you have ever assembled, of the strongest angels, with the sharpest swords, with the longest and thinnest swords, sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael, so they come down to this earth and will get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country and hijacked lives of many people. Please have Russia run by angels, make it peaceful, make it a country of common sense, logic, and love. Dear Lord, I would like to ask you to help people who are going through terrible tragedy right now, whose homes have been destroyed, who are fighting for their lives, who are fighting for their homes, for their belongings, who are fighting the flooding that is happening right now. I'm asking to send you your angels to help everyone who is in dire situation, save their lives, and send help their way, the kind of help that you only know and they need. Thank you so much. Please help all that have been affected, and help all who just will be affected soon. Also, I'm asking you to help the ones who are hungry, sick, jobless, homeless, depressed, struggling with faith, have low self-esteem. Please shine your heavenly light upon them, each one of them, and send them love and warmth, your warmth, so they feel better about themselves and about their lives. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please send everyone recovery, forgiveness, and happiness. Thank you for allowing us to come and pray. Please help everyone who's praying along with me or simply watching us pray, answer their prayers, and make their wishes come true. Dear Lord, there are people I would like you to help. Some of them I have their names here, and then some of them I don't. I would like to start with, I usually start with the ones whose names I have right in front of my eyes, but I'd like to start with the ones I don't see right now. Those are the people who are suffering, the people who are fighting the flooding, the catastrophe, and all kinds of hardness and hardship that connected with that. Please help them in the first place. Also, please help Wayne, Shirley, Debbie, Jen Ellen, Finola, Lars Henrik, and Lars Henrik's mother. The Highwayman, Essie from the Scottish Isles, Outlander family, David Porter, his family, and everyone in Chernovtsi and everyone in Ukraine. Lars, Susan Marshall, Beulah, Lazarus, Bas Simon, Alvin, Alvin's sister, Teresa D., Terry Carter, Jolie McMahon, Meta Spencer, Deanna and her family, Bree's friend, Carolyn, Albina Fell, Michael Yukon, Joel, Leif, Karin Wasser, Pamela J., Lindsay, Brittany S., Larry, Frank in Texas, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Svetlana, Karen, Janine, Michael Milkevitz, Maureen, Paul Beans, Richard, Mallory M., Dirk, Misler, Linda, Terry, Richard Burris, Scan family's grandson, Barb, Randolph, Nelly, Arkady and Yuri, Verlinda's niece, Doug, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Donald, Deborah, Lisa's son, Jade, Kaltenberg, Allison, Dave Moyers, Heidi, Bob, Matt, Ashley family, Tony, Kayleen, Mr. Dean Spooner, his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Kumrian, Jacob, Adam Oliver, Amy, Kyle's wife, Maggie, Carmen's sister, Vladislav Sergey, Susie Mailer, Gina Wayfarer, Liz, Lori Miles' husband, Sherry, Layla, Philip's mother, Thomas Fall's mom, Margaret, Linda Trombley, RT, Per, Sarah, James Gantz, China Bill, Julia Haney, Paul, Dave Strains, Pam, George Ruberty, Liz Dumbrell and her grandparents, White Lightning, Santa's Whiskey, Paula McDonald, Bip, Rudy Kaisley, Darla, Susan, Paul, Alona and her boys, Ruth, daughter of Aspen English, Ripted, Brian Wilkes, CKOC, Sherry Morin, Amir's Uncle Dicky, Mac's family, Ann Larson and her family and daughter Hannah, Jim and Shirley Hall, Delaney and her two daughters, Greg, and Mac's family. Dear Lord, please help the special children. They are Cadence, Maverick, Sebastian, Coulter, Theo, Madi, Ansley, niece of Karin Vasser, Ava. Please send them recovery and send their families strength, and please send those families who are trying to save their children right now in the southern Ukraine strength, and send each person who is in dire straits an angel and your help. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for coming and praying with me. Tomorrow, as usual, I was thinking of making a stream of how Russian children are under fire, and the fire is coming from the state. I'm not sure if I do that tomorrow. I will if there's nothing major happens and there's no more important message, breaking news kind of message. So please come back tomorrow at the usual time, and thank you again. Before I leave, I would like to ask you the usual, so it happens soon. Please say along with me: Carthago delenda est.